Hello and welcome back to Jarrett Tal. So today is going to be a bit different. It's going to be the last video on the driving series. I know there's been a lot of other videos. There's been 2 other videos that you can actually look at if you have a look through my channel. But this will be the last one. This one is going to be very different to the others because it's a vlog. I actually just bought a new car and I tracked the journey of it, which was from going to like literally looking for the insurance, how much the insurance costs, going to look at the cars and see if they were suitable. I've documented all of it, and also when I went to the car shop once I'd bought the car. In this video I'll be explaining the process of how to do it, things you need to look out for. I've got tips of how to get cheap insurance, and I'll also be explaining how much I actually spent on it as well, and it's gonna be a lot. So because the vlog has happened over a series of months, it's got a lot of chopping and changing from different time points. So you might see current Amber just popping back in every so often just to like make sure you know where we're at in terms of the vlog and just explain the things as they were going along. I know a lot of people might not have the knowledge of what to look out for when buying a car, and I know it can be very tricky. I know a lot of people, there's like literally car scams going around where people lie to you and say they've only got one key to the car, but they have the other key, so they sell you the car and then they go and steal it back from you. And I know it can be very dangerous and scary going about it, especially if you don't have someone who's more knowledgeable about it. So I'm just here to share my 2 pence on what I do know. So first things first, you're going to start with your Auto Trader search. So you're going to put in your postcode, and I just set it to national because you just travel around the world, you don't know. So cool, we've put in our postcode, and then I've just put in a Ford Fiesta as a sample car, and I'm gonna set it, say my budget's 4,000, I would set it to 4,500 because prices on Auto Trader are often negotiable depending on the person selling it. So I would set it at 4,500 and see, depending on if there's problems with the car, I might be able to get it down to about 4,000. So cool. Then when you get onto it, delivery might be more important to some people because they might not have a car in the first place to go and get a car from somewhere really far. Then the year, when it comes to the year, sometimes people advise don't get a car any more than 7 years old, and some people say 10. So I'll just say the minimum year is going to be 10 years old, and that's going to start to filter down our results. Mileage, when it comes to mileage, you know you want to try and get a car that's no more than, basically on average a car should be doing I think around 12,000 per year, 12,000 miles per year. So if you're buying a car from 2010, the maximum should be like, you know, 120,000, but that's quite a lot for a car, to be honest. So you kind of have to give or take, but 12,000 per year, and that's to how many years that the car has been alive. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So mileage, if I was gonna get a car for 2010, to be fair, I'm gonna try for 2013. So because obviously the newer the better, supposedly. And then a 2013 car averaging at 12,000 miles per year would be 7 times 12,000, which is and that would work out to about 84,000 miles. So then I can go ahead and put in my mileage, and I'll put it in as maximum, this say 90,000. Then you've got your gearboxes, which is what again what you want to decide. I'm going to say it to manual just to keep things broad. Fuel type, I'd recommend petrol because diesels can just cause a lot of problems later down the line. Doors, I'll just leave those things. Color, some colors are actually more expensive because they're in high demand, but I'm just going to say black. I think black's a nice general neutral color. Then this category. So basically when it comes to these categories, S, C, D, N, don't ignore these. You always want to try and exclude these. Not even try, just exclude them. Because basically the other cars, the different categories mean like how it's been treated. Some cars have like been written off but repaired or whatever like that. But if it's had a bad history, you might want to try and avoid that sort of car, especially if you're not confident with cars and like you know how to do it back up. It's best to just avoid it to minimize the chances of having any problems with it later down the line. And then yeah, this is what your options would come out as. So you've got a 2014. If we're just going with the first one here, this one's had 2 owners. So now if I was to click on this first car, if I was to look at this first car now, it's 2014, which is pretty new. Then you've got the financing options as well. It's available for home delivery. Then the things you want to be looking out for is the amount of owners. I remember when I was looking for cars, there was one with like 8 owners and my dad was like, no, and it makes sense because it's like with anything, the more people that have had it, the less valuable it's going to be. Engine size, I'm not really too confident in explaining like the engine size, but basically the higher the engine, the more like power per se it has. It's got 5 seats, 5 doors, ULEZ tick, which is a good thing, which this means when it says ULEZ included, I don't know, when it's got a tick, it basically means that you can drive through Central without being charged ULEZ charge, but you'll still get charged congestion. Yeah, so that means that when it's got ULEZ tick, that's a good thing, because it means you won't have to pay ULEZ charge. And then yeah, you can have a look at the thing, but this one is from a dealership, H&M Motors Ltd, so that should be a good enough one. Then you'll just call them and then have that conversation, go down, check out the car.
It's always there, and the performance gives you luxury, just like this car here gives you luxury. But at the same time, if you want to get up and go, in other words, race, right? And when I say race, when you put your foot down, the tone of the engine actually changes to like a lion. It roars like a racing car. That sort of thing. So.
Okay, so we're back home now, and we just decided that we're gonna leave it for today, go and do a bit of get a bit of quotes, because there was a couple dents, a couple scratches. We want to get rid of them all, so that when it's ready to drive, it's just in brand new perfect condition. So we're just gonna go and run and get a couple quotes about that. Another thing we wanted to find out about is if what's that thing? Can't remember what the other thing was, but yeah, we're just gonna go and get a couple quotes and see if we can get it down to the price negotiated, and if yeah, then we'll just take it tomorrow. So yeah, and then in addition to that, insurance I think is around 2,000. MOT is around, I think it's 43, but I can get it done for about 35 or something like that, so about £45 basically. And then the road tax is 130 for the year. So yeah, those are the additional costs. But yeah, I'm gonna literally show me doing all of them, hopefully if I can get footage of it. Yeah. So yeah, that was the first car that we went to look at, and then there was too much that needed doing on it to get it to an acceptable standard, so we decided to leave that one. Then we went back to the beginning, and then we had to go back to our search. I then found another car, which is a second car, but the mileage was just really high for the year, so we decided against that one. So that's why mileage is actually important. And then we got onto our third car, and we looked at this car. The mileage was good, and it was very good price for what it was. That the original car that we looked at was a diesel, and by this point I decided that I didn't want to take the risk of having a diesel, so I wanted to get a petrol, and petrols are a lot more expensive, and the price that I originally found this one for was a lot more than what we got negotiated down to. It dropped down by about £1,000 in the time that we showed our interest to actually purchasing it, so it was a good buy. So now that we decided on the car, and it was very likely that I was going to get this car, we now want to go and do our insurance searches. So I've mentioned insurance in my other videos. So now I'm going to take you through a couple of tips to help you get your insurance costs down. Okay, so when filling out your insurance form, tip number 1 I'd say is to be cautious or be particular with how you word your job title. For example, if you work in a phone shop, don't word it as I work in telecommunications. Alternatively, word it as I work in retail. I'm not sure why these things work, but they do work, and it does get it cheaper. So you can take my word for it, or it's up to you. Tip number 2, when you go out to fill out the form for your car insurance, you get the option to tick I haven't bought the car yet, or select a date that you bought the car. Now, it actually works out cheaper to select the date that you bought the car rather than saying you haven't bought the car yet. I'm not sure how they work out the prices, but that also has helped to get it cheaper. And if you haven't actually bought the car yet, I guess you could just put in a date that you think that you'd be buying the car. Tip number 3 is that you want to select the policy start date in advance. So for example, me, when I was buying mine, I knew that it was Wednesday when I started to look at the insurance quotes, and then I wanted it to start on Friday, which actually was cheaper than selecting it to start on the date that you was actually going to buy the car. So your policy start date should be in advance of when you're actually getting the car. Tip number 4 is a funny one. Another way you can get your insurance cheaper is to add additional drivers. And the logic behind this is that because they're more experienced, they may be using the car as well. I believe this is how they sort of work it out. So for example, I might put my parents on there because obviously they've been driving many more years than I have, and that actually helps to reduce the cost. However, it's actually illegal to put someone else as the main driver, even if you know that you're going to be the person driving it. So for example, for my car, I know that it's my car, so I'm going to be driving it the most. But if I have to try and put my dad on there as the first driver, that's actually illegal, and that is called fronting. Tip number 5 is have a look at the incentives that the different insurance providers offer. So some of them have like vouchers for like petrol for a certain amount of time, or it might be like a Domino's voucher, or they might, for example, offer money towards your excess fee and different things like this. And tip number 6 is consider having a black box. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I would recommend having a black box in at least your first year. This does reduce it. I know I said that it could only reduce it by about £100, but some of them it varies. Sometimes it's like £200 or £250, which is a lot of money, and £100 may be a lot of money as well. So those are all things that are going to help reduce the cost of insurance. If you know any other tips, then feel free to share them. So I actually screen recorded my insurance quotes when I first got them, and I will just take you through the actual quotes because these are the real quotes that I got. It's not even hypothetical quotes, and I'll just show you the sort of things that you want to be looking out for, sort of things that I look out for. Ultimately, I just end up going for the cheapest one, but there are some things that you may be more appealing to you. I forgot to mention as well, when looking for your insurance, you just basically want to get 4 tabs open. You want to get your Go Compare, you want to get your Money Supermarket, Compare the Market, and Confused.com. Those are the most common sites. You want to get all 4 of those tabs open, then fill out the forms with them. Then you can start comparing the quotes based on those results. Okay, so the first one I got was my Go Compare. The cheapest one is $810, and that was with a black box. And then as you can see, the next one without the black box. So that I know for me, I was only looking for insurance quotes without the black box. So the cheapest one without the black box was £960. So yeah, that's a £150 difference, which could be quite appealing. So then obviously you're going to still compare all your other results. So the next one was Money Supermarket. The cheapest one, basically I'm just going to ignore the black box. The cheapest one was £1,037, and this was without the black box. But again, there's there's over a £200 difference. No, just under £200 difference with that one and the black box. Then we look at Compare the Market. This one, the cheapest one without the black box was $1,300. So can you see how sometimes a black box does make a big difference and sometimes it doesn't? And the final was Confused.com, which is the one that I ended up going with today, which the cheapest without was £780.64. That is the actual one that I actually end up spending, and I bought my insurance for £780. I just did it as a one-off payment because, as I said, I like to reduce my monthly outgoing, so that's what I chose to go for. Then you just click more info and then it redirects you to Admiral's site. So my insurance share is with Admiral. And yeah, that's the type of things that you want to be looking for when you're going through your insurance. So it's important to compare, because if I had just initially gone to Money Supermarket, I would have been spending £1,000 on it, and then this one I end up getting for £780. So it does make the difference, and it is worth the search. Editing Amber here. I just needed to interrupt the video to say what's probably the most important thing you need to do when buying a car, and that is getting a car history check. The way I think of this is it's like a CRB that you can get run on the car, and it tells you any problems, and it just tells you the true details of the car, anything that might have happened in the car's history that the owner might have missed out. So by doing this check, there's a lot of things that you might be able to prevent. Another thing is that an owner might lie on the ad saying that it's only done, for example, 50,000 miles, when in real life it's actually done about 100,000. And the reason why they've done this is to make the car seem more appealing and more attractive, to make you want to buy it more. But when you do this check, it's going to tell you the true details. So it's a very good check. It cost me $8.95, I believe, for mine. I'm going to leave a link in the description to who I did mine with. And then everyone, like loads of sites do it. So Halfords does it, AA does it, and it doesn't cost any more than £10, which is very much worth it, because the £10 that you spend there might end up saving you a lot more money in the long run if you're able to see the things that you need to avoid now. Okay, so now that I'd frozen the prices on my insurance quotes, I then went to look at the car, and that's the next bit. It's just whole journey there, looking at the car, all of that stuff. So we are halfway there. I've been driving for 2 hours. I'm gonna get my laptop back out. So I'm dead ass about to buy a new car. My old child. I bring my laptop because my laptop's got my insurance quotes. We got a back car.
I'll pay the £25 and then they'll contact you by email, so you just say the words is
Oh, that's for you. Own a new car. These are all mine as well. Oh, where's the second key?
This is there. The second key's there and the spare battery's there. Yeah, all of them are.
So I'm clearing out my old car to transfer the things over. And tell me why I have a pair of heels in it. I have heels in my old car. Okay, so I have now got a new car. I just wanted to go through some of the reasons and things that I wanted in my new car, because I don't know if someone might potentially want this for theirs or something like that. So for me, I knew that I wanted it to be automatic. That was my most important thing, because as I've mentioned before, I'm just tired of driving manuals, and I just wanted the automatic for the ease. I also wanted it to have Bluetooth, which it does, but not to the extent that I wanted. I actually wanted it to be Bluetooth for if I'm playing my songs, but it's only Bluetooth for calls only. So kind of does the job. And I also wanted cruise control, because I do a lot of like 2 hours, 3 hour drives. And again, I find that I don't know if maybe I'm just I am a very lazy driver, but I want as much ease as possible. So I wanted cruise control, but it doesn't have cruise control, but it does have a speed limiter, which we'll see if I'll use it. Other than that, I also wanted it to be black. My first car was red, and I think at the time when I was 17 and I asked for it, I was I was just a bit excited, and I think the novelty wore off very quickly with that. So I specifically wanted a black car. As well as that, I wanted it to be 5 doors. My original car was 3 doors, which was very inconvenient because I carry a lot of passengers with my friends and stuff like that. So we're having a 3-door, and just having to do gymnastics just to get into the back was a lot. So I specifically wanted 5 doors. So I didn't get to tick all of my boxes. However, it is a really good car, and yeah, welcome to my new car. So at this point now, I'd bought the car and I'd done all the paperwork. When I went to the guy's house who sold it to us, I brought my laptop with me, as I mentioned, and as you can see in the video, that's just me filling out the paperwork. So I did my tax, which was $150. I paid for the tax. I selected the insurance, because obviously I needed insurance to drive back home, which was $780. And then I also got the warranty transferred over into my name, and that was all emailed over to me. And then I actually bought the car in a bank transfer. That's so crazy how easy it is to buy a car. It's kind of scary as well if you think about it. Like, all it takes is a bank transfer, but yeah. And then the last section of this video is just me going to the car shop, which I actually really enjoyed. I felt like I was in Pimp My Ride, because the things that were going on there, they literally had cars in the air, people standing on cars. There was a lot going on, but yeah, they were really nice there, really nice service, gave me free hot chocolate. And that concludes all our videos on driving. There's not going to be any more videos on driving. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to catch you in my next video. See ya.